I mean, I had to disassociate all kinds of stuff as I was doing it because the horrors I would see, the people dying, the people suffering that I had no ability to help, even though I was desperate to help them. Man, I had to push that stuff off to the side because that's not my job, and that's not good for the soul.
Please welcome to Thomas Berryman TV. Is an exciting guest. Pete A. Turner is an author now, but he was former counterintelligence, and he's got some incredible stories. And you would have seen some of his shows on YouTube and the interviews he's done with people, and him being interviewed. He's an incredible guy. So we'll kick it off.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's great. It's great to have. Just today I was having a show with a guy named James Rosebush. Probably never heard of him, but he was a senior aide to President Reagan and then was his wife, Nancy Reagan's chief of staff. That's a pretty big deal here in America. And he was telling me about the wonders of being on my show and the gifts that I gave him and his neighbor, who were politically not aligned, but about the same tier, very high up in the Washington circles. And he's like, we turned into just best friends because of being on your show. And I thought to myself, what a wonderful thing. Like, how can
Yeah,
we create these worlds, man, where we get to have like, okay, great, we get to have a great time having a show, but I changed to Robert passed away recently. But just while he had time left, those two got to get on famously. And what's better than that?
that's
Honestly.
so cool.
Well, what's yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
And
So thanks for having me
I
on the
love
show, man.
that.
I appreciate it.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on, man. And I want to, start off whereabouts exactly you're from and, where you grew up. What was it like?
Yeah. I grew up in California in the Bay Area, so kind of by the San Francisco area, but on the east side of all of that. And it was just a really nice place. It was quiet, it was open, outdoorsy, so you could go out your back door and head out into the fields and just not a lot of adult supervision. So a little bit rowdy, but nothing bad. But yeah, and I grew up kind of a kid that loved sports and loved to be out doing things and it was a very good time to be. We had our problems and all that kind of thing, but I'm very fortunate. Still, I love my hometown. I'm there all the time. I just think it's such a great place and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. So we're kind of on the water. Three sides kind of stick out into it's where the San Francisco Bay stops and the delta that we have starts. And right there, as that turn happens, is where my hometown is. It's a wonderful place.
What growing up did you always want to, get into the counterintelligence spy game, or what led you to that?
Yeah, I had no idea that this was going to happen. I was living a fairly normal, just regular life, and hadn't even considered the military. One of my uncles was in the military, like he'd stayed in, but that was really it. Otherwise, I thought I was going to be in TV and radio, which ultimately now I am kind of, but I had no idea I was going to join until I did. But I couldn't find a job after college, and I'm like, I got to do something. I can't just keep doing these things that I was not trying to do. And so I decided I'm like, I've got to make a change. And that change ended up being the Army. And the Army said, like, why don't you become a counterintelligence agent? And I was, my recruiter didn't even know. He's like, I don't know what that is, but it's
Yeah.
got to be cool. Otherwise, I would know what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And for
Yeah.
people who don't know,
So,
what is counterintelligence?
it's a lot of things. Counterintelligence in my particular field is using human intelligence, talking to people, and I'm trying to help the commander win more and lose less, help the enemy lose more and win less. That's really what it is. And so I use personal relationships to accomplish those things.
Yeah. And, and so, you said you'd recruited, didn't know, like, but were you in the army first and then they select you, or did you sort of like apply and go, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, it's just a regular at that time. It kind of changes depending on the era, but yeah, it's a job that you just put in for, and as long as you qualify for it, you basically can get it. So they don't like come looking for you. You just take the standard tests, and I
Yeah.
tested well, so I could have had really any job in the army, but that was the one that I picked. And again, I didn't really know what it was. Yeah, we watched the video together. It's like a laser disc they put in the thing. Me and my recruiter, he watched it, and I'm looking at him like. Like they showed like guys smoking, and like you see how you can see the cigarettes. That's what counterintelligence does. They look for guys. I'm like, they look for guys smoking, and he's like, I don't think that's what they're trying to say. But yeah, because you're trying to hide, right? And so it's like you do. They call it red team. You're trying to look to infiltrate internally. In some occasions, sometimes you don't do that, but it's kind of a hard job to describe. And then within the field, there are many subfields. It's not like being a plumber. Well, and I don't like being a plumber is awesome, and there's probably a lot of ways to be a plumber. But once you know like the mechanics of plumbing and how to, join pipe and all that kind of thing, it's a fairly straightforward job in terms of the skills required. And this, there might be like, Pete, you're going to go to Los Angeles County and work on a joint task force for counterterror. And you're like, okay. And then the next job, they're like, you are now going to go to an embassy in Rome and you're going to work there. And you're like, okay. And like, so each job is a totally unique experience, totally unique skill set. You can't use the same pipe wrench to turn pipe. It just doesn't work that way. So this job is like, what are you good at? And you have to be entrepreneurial and you have to be willing to expose yourself to harm unless you're not that kind of counterintelligence agent. And then you sit in an office and you process stuff all the time and you're invaluable. So it just kind of depends on the adventure, the person who you're working for, and how much trouble you can get yourself in and out of to sort of define what your job in the counterintelligence field can be. You might be a counterterrorism expert your entire career. You might be working black ops, supporting, operators like Delta Force guys, and you're supporting them by building networks and talking to people. It could be anything.
So they can send you anywhere in the world as well, and so you would have been to some places.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and really, it's on me, right? Like once you get good, and so like you have to develop a black belt in this craft, and so once you know that, and that takes a while to do, you then are that tool that they can put anywhere. And some of this you control, you can shape and say, hey, I'd like to go here, I'd like to go there, and you kind of find your way, and then you can influence that. But not everybody has that luxury, and sometimes folks are in and out of jobs so fast they learn more a generalist kind of point of view. I ended up being a specialist, but there was no real like, I mean, other than my desire to do something and my control over it. I had a lot of control over my career, but also my career is very atypical. And so all of that cobbled into this crazy career where I had a lot of combat time. I got over 1,000 combat missions in my life. And these patrols add up to an incredible body of work that even my peers are like, I don't understand how you did all that. And why? Why didn't you go over here? And I'm like, that wasn't my opportunity. My opportunity was to go do this thing. And I got really good at this one specific subtask, of
Yeah,
counterintelligence. Does any of this make sense?
yeah, it's exciting.
Okay.
I'm like, I didn't think that was all part of it, but yeah, it's interesting to work out how it works. I didn't realize there's so many subdivisions. Like you said, like the Black Ops and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, I thought it was just like one unit that does everything. That's pretty cool. Where was
Yeah.
what was the scariest moments or like the hardest moment for you?
Yeah, it's funny. You always ask that. You don't say, "Hey, what was the happiest moment?" Right?
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's funny. The scariest moments, there's a lot of tension, especially if you don't know, like you're not in control of what's going to happen next, and you're trying to mix it up with bad dudes. I have to know bad guys, and I have to extend trust to these guys so I can create a relationship. And so, just like talking with you, right? Like, we talk a little bit here and there via WhatsApp and that kind of thing. And if that continued, that'd be the most normal thing in the world. And we become closer, we become friends. Now just imagine if, and maybe you are, now just imagine if you were a warlord. It'd be the same thing, right? And so I'm getting closer and closer to someone who's very dangerous and has a lot of power, political, military power. And my job is to understand who they are, why they do what they're going to do, try to de-escalate the situation or maybe escalate depending on what the goal is. And so that danger is always there because if someone in that person's structure, in their tribe, in their whatever, decides they don't like me, now I'm having a conflict I'm not in charge of, and someone else is negotiating my well-being.
yeah,
And so all of this goes into the next meeting each time. And I'm putting a lot of faith into the other person's ability to protect me, and he's putting a lot of faith in his ability for me to protect him.
Yep.
And let me tell you, the U.S. will go crawfish on a deal fast. So I'm brokering deals, and my backer, the U.S., they may change their mind in a moment. They don't care about that person, but I have to. I have to at least act like it. And so those are really the most tense times where something doesn't go the way that we all anticipated it was going to go. And I am the bearer of bad news in those cases. And that's I felt very exposed in those cases. And it's harmful
Yep.
because the person who's like, yeah, Pete, let's do this. Let's work on this together. Let's make this a better country. Because I'm kind of a salesman.
Yep.
And then uh, I have no power over the US. And so when they say we're not doing that anymore, I, I'm the front facing guy. I got to go talk to these people and say, hey, by the way, we're leaving and we're not going to do all those things we said we were going to do. What we're going to do is leave. And they're like, yes, one day you will leave. And I'm like, no, man, listen to me. We're leaving right now. And when you see their face change, man, I'm in peril. Like if that person's like, I never thought this would happen, you know, now we're going to, who knows what's going to happen, right? And so there's a lot of instances where I've got to go take a meeting and I don't know what the outcome is going to be. And hopefully it doesn't get dangerous, but I have to be ready for it to be dangerous so that if I have a chance, if there's any chance available, to survive those meetings because that work is extremely dangerous. I have to be exposed all the time. I need the enemy to know that I'm there and I'm playing hard with them. I mean, imagine like you're playing soccer, football, you're playing that, and the best player's got to be on the field. That means that the crappiest player in the field can target that player and mark them and either just cover them the whole game and sacrifice their entire game, take penalties and everything just to shut that one player down. You know, it's a similar thing where you're on the field and you have to know that person is there. And I played hard. I influenced things. I changed things. So the times where they don't they, in the rearview mirror they don't look all that dangerous, you know.
Yep.
But when you're there and you don't know what's going to happen next, and these are dangerous people, it's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Did you ever have a moment like, those situations? Was there any particular one that stood out where you went, I don't think I'm coming out of this one?
Yeah, there was a time where the enemy was setting up checkpoints in Iraq, a lot of them, and they were lethal checkpoints. And so one of our taskings was to figure out who was doing this and to see if we could interdict, stop, inform about. And so the mission was to try to do these things, find them, interdict, learn about whatever it is. And we found a checkpoint. And they're like, okay, now you caught the tiger, but we weren't supposed to be the tiger catching force, but we
Yeah.
found one, or maybe not. Again, we don't know. We have to go through this thing, and so we're with our Iraqi guy who's our interpreter, and they wave us off the road, and so we drive off the road and we go up this little rise. We're not far, maybe like 200 meters off the road, and we have to go talk to the boss. And so our interpreter gets out. It's all in Arabic, and when people speak Arabic, they're very demonstrative. Oh, and you don't know if it's a fight or just excited to see each other. It's hard to tell. Even if you know the words, they're going so fast. And so we're watching this conversation, and while we're watching the conversation, I'm in the front passenger seat, so I'm on the right side, and behind me is my partner, and so we're both in this car together, and we both have slipped our weapons from safe to fire. We both have drawn in because there's a number of Iraqis in front of us, and then down the hill there's there's more Iraqis, right? So we're gonna have to try to make our way out of this trap if it's a trap. We didn't know, so I've pulled in the slack on my trigger, and I'm like, "Am I gonna have to kill my friend?" And so I was gonna do my best to not shoot him, but so the shooting was getting ready to start, and the we weren't gonna be the last ones to shoot because we had to have the moment of surprise. While we're doing this, and keep in mind, I'm on the passenger side of the car. So if it jumps off, I am now going to do what's called the dead man driver drill. And I'm going to reach across, step on the gas, and I'm going to drive the car with my left hand from the right seat, right? So my foot's going to be over the transmission well. I'm going to mash that gas, spin, turn. And I've practiced this drill. We practice a dead driver drill where you pull the driver out and the guy on the right is driving. And so I'm trying to remember all the things that I have to do in order and how am I going to do it in this car? You know, so I've looked down and I'm like, okay, this is a low well. I can get across this easy. I'll have to figure out how to rip gears without putting the clutch in, that kind of thing. And so I've had to think through this while I'm looking ahead and trying to be calm and not trigger anything. And then it worked out. It didn't work out. It was actual legitimate Iraqi army checkpoint doing the same mission, but from a different angle. But again, we didn't know this, right? And
Yeah.
so you're in this funnel, and it was no longer our next 10 minutes weren't in our control. And that's terrifying no matter what part of the world you're in. If you lose control of your future and luck is in the driver's seat, oh man, it worked out.
Yeah.
But whew, even just thinking about it, making my heart race a little bit. It was
Yeah.
terrifying.
Wow. I couldn't imagine. That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
What
that's crazy.
what was the happiest part and the best parts about the job?
You got to meet some wonderful people, and I got to understand, in this case, the Iraqi people really well. I got to talk to them all the time and hear about their families, and genuinely like built relationships with these folks. Even if they're short term, I still care about them. If I was to go back and if I was to see them, my belief is that they would be as excited to see me as I was to see them. Now it's been a long time, so maybe I wouldn't remember everybody, but I probably remember the context and be like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I was here. Yeah, I was doing that." And so it's the human interaction, and you see the beauty inside of all the horror of war. Is really it's I guess it's bittersweet, but it's a sweet that is you when things go right and you see a family doing better, that's good. And so all of that culminates with this kid that I was exposed to. He was an interpreter, as a Rocky kid, and he got to come to the United States, went and got a degree, and then sends me a note saying, "Hey, would you speak up for me? I want to become a doctor, but I need some character references." So this is a kid who started out in a war-torn country in Iraq,
Yeah.
goes and educates himself, serves in the U.S. Army as an interpreter later on. This is after me. Gets educated to the point where they'll make him a doctor. And by now, probably he's either done or about to be done becoming a doctor, if you can imagine that. And I just think, man, what a miracle for that kid. And he's not a kid now, he's a man now, but he was just a young, like late high school, early college guy back then, just trying to figure out what was going to be next. And now he's going to be a doctor, man. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I love stories like that too. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Changed his
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what's something that you think a lot of people misinterpret about the counterintelligence industry, like the spy game, and is it like on the movies or is it pretty accurate?
No, the movie, there's not really a good movie for counterintelligence that I can think of specifically, partly because there's so many things. So, like the Center for Counterintelligence in the Army is for US is in Fort Huachuca. It's this place down on the Mexican border, and we the name of the place made it into a Tom Clancy film, a Jack Ryan movie. It's the which one was it? Anyhow, it doesn't really matter. And so that's exciting for us. But that's all it did. It was like a name, and they showed like some desert, and they're like Fort Huachuca, and then they talked about signals intelligence, which is intercept, which is not really our bailiwick. But there's other things. Usually the CIA gets to perform that kind of task, but usually they put a bunch of people and turn them into one character, like a super character. And so I've not seen a good, and I'm not sure it would be all that great of a story because there's a whole lot of the way I approach it. There's a whole lot of talking.
Yeah.
Another counterintelligence agent in the movies is from A Few Good Men,
Yeah.
and there's the partner of the main character that Jack Nicholson plays. He plays that Marine commander, and so the other guy who was with him, that's the guy that blows his head off. But
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon says this cool line like he's a counterintelligence man. He's gone. And
Yeah.
his name was I can't remember his name, but that character is the guy that dresses up in his blues and then shoots himself in the head. So not the best representation of who
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah.
But the cool part was like if you didn't want to find him, you're not going to find that guy, kind of thing. That's kind of cool. But that's as close as they really get. There's a lot of movies where that kind of stuff is played out. But a lot of what we do is spy stuff in general, and so it kind of. But there's also a heavy uh, law enforcement aspect to what we do. And right now, the job is kind of pushing towards the law enforcement side.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see how the job evolves and how we all internally disagree about what is and what isn't counterintelligence.
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of right and everybody's kind of wrong because when you get to the place you get to, you do the job that's in front of you. And all of a sudden your definition of what the job is going to change because you're doing something you've never done before in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Did you ever have a time where you had to question your morals? Like you're telling someone you're going to help them, and you know very well that they're not going to be helped, but you just sort
Oh
of
yeah.
like the person.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of moral conflict in this job. I am trying to allow them to believe whatever they want to believe. That helps me. I'm absolutely trying to manipulate. I'm trying to infiltrate. I'm trying to exploit. These are all bad words in terms of like
Yeah,
negative connotation. I'm doing my best to keep them positive. Like everybody exploits something. Like if there's tax laws that you can legally take to keep some of your money, you're exploiting tax laws. Like that's a good thing, right?
yeah,
So, but the reality is when you're doing it at the expense of someone else, if it's easier to be dishonest with that person because it's transactional, you only need them for a couple of weeks to help you out. And then you're never going to see them again. You're never going to follow up. Even if they call you, if you see them, you're not going to talk to them. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of harm in that. If you see someone that you think you can help, but they can't help you and you don't help them, which is a very common thing in this field, yeah, you have to absorb that hit to your morals, that hit to your character. Ultimately this is a game and we are playing a dangerous, dangerous game. And so if you have to lose so I can win,
yeah,
you're gonna lose.
yeah,
Or not.
yeah,
Or I eat it, right? And
yeah,
so yeah, I mean for sure people have died because of things that I have done.
yeah,
And I hate that about what our job is, but that's when the war part comes in, the combat. Like if you're a combat spy, I don't get to ensure that everybody's okay, especially if they're not us.
yeah,
If it's them or the enemy, it's going to be one of those two bodies where the damage is going to come from because that that's combat.
yeah. What's something, any like skills you could say are valuable to know that if someone's manipulating you, or how do you read people? Is there something you could share, or is it just a natural sort of gift people would have, or something to look out
There is a
for?
gift for sure, but anybody who's really good has developed the skills. And there's a lot of different things. Actually, I'm in a company we're building called SpyQ, and we're kind of trying to give these skills to people so that yeah, look, when you walk into a room, right, and you're going to try to accomplish whatever it is, you're a better version of Tommy than you were before, right? So how can I teach you how to read people? Well, first thing I would say is like, don't think you're omnipotent. Don't think I'm omnipotent. I'm going to read you and I'm going to think, okay, here's what I think, A, B, C. Now let me test these things. And that's really where the beginning parts of like the black belt level comes in. And so if your body language indicates to me that you're being deceptive, doesn't mean I'm right, but let me test that assumption. And when I test it and it comes back with more deception, then I'm like, okay, maybe this guy's deceiving me. Why? And so I have to have this internal conversation with myself where I'm asking questions to you. We're having a conversation and I'm shaping it the entire time we're going along. But I can't show you that I'm doing that. You can't perceive that I'm doing that because then I'm going to get a different version of you and I want the real version of you. And so I'm looking at your eyes, the facial expressions that you make, where your hands and feet are. And I'm just sort of examining all of that stuff to try to see what else you're communicating with me. And if I determine that there's deception, but I think it's because you're hiding something from me out of fear, not because of lying to me on purpose. And let's say I've tested this a couple different ways, a couple different questions. I might come back around and say, "Are you are you in danger right now?" And then I'll look at their face, and if their face is like, yeah, no, I'm not, and then I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, okay. Then I can change how I act towards that person. And so here's the next level is when I go to meet Tommy, and I'm like, hey, I'd love to get a meeting with you. Uh, how does that work for you? Like, what does that look like if we get together? You're like, oh, well, we'll just get together. Okay, yeah, but like, how do you stay safe? How do I stay safe? Where do we do it? You want to come to me? What should I go to you? And then the person might say, "Oh, I'm never going to go to you guys. That will put me in a bad spot. People see me walking up with my yellow sweatshirt on. Yeah, everybody knows me, and so no. Why don't you come to me? I'll pick you up and I'll take you to my house and you'll be safe there. Right. So now I've got to decide if I trust you enough to do this. Right.
Yep.
Or the other direction, I'm like, hey, do you want to come to our place and just have lunch and talk? And then if you go, yeah, I'll do that. And I'm like, and understand, like, you're going to come as a VIP, as my guest. This is not like you're not going to get searched for guns or bombs or anything. So just come clean and you'll be totally safe there. And so then I go back to the army and I'm like, I'm going to let this guy walk on this camp unsearched. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, because we're going to treat him like a VIP because he is. And by the way, keep in mind the people I'm talking to, nobody gets to talk to, right? So I've been introduced by the Iraqis to another Iraqi who's a very important tribal elder. And so when I bring him on, I'm treating him like a VIP because in his world he is. And so when I bring him on and I blow his mind with electricity, air conditioning, ice cream, fresh food, it changes everything about how he sees me because one, I've respected him and given him something he couldn't have had any other way, but also I've allowed him to be like an important man. I'm like, hey, you're an important guy, and so there's an exchange there that is above just the black belt level. That's like a mastery among black belts to gain this access. Now think about the next time that guy introduces me to somebody else and what that looks like. Now there's always danger. So okay, great, there's danger. But if he's like, hey, you got to go to lunch with Pete. It was incredible. Check this out. I went on to the Army post. They just walked me on. They saluted me and said, sir, I've never seen that before. These guys are actually pretty cool. And then the commander, by the way, this is all by design. The commander comes over. Hey, Pete, who are you talking to? Because I've gone to the commander and said, why don't you come around 3:30? And so of course the commander does, and so he meets this guy, and now I'm like, oh, this is the boss. You're talking to the boss right now. And then the boss would be like, "Who am I talking to?" Oh, you're talking to Abu Badass. This is the guy. And so those guys will shake hands. And now I've closed a gap that wasn't closable before. No one else had in years ever had the ability to put these two guys in the same room together. And that's me at my best is creating this positive interaction where any kind of nefarious stuff this person is doing, it's muted a little bit. You don't fix it in one meeting. I mean, what do you fix in one meeting? I mean, you don't go out on one date and, for the most part, get married that day.
Yeah.
Like you got to go out and do stuff. And so that's what I'm doing is I'm trying to find these partners that I can interact with in a way that allows us to advance. But it's just little small steps each time. And
Yeah.
so when I'm trying to figure out how to meet with you, I'm using all of my skills to get to that point. And so it's how I ask my questions, it's how I approach you with culture. It's all these different things that the regular person doesn't have. And so, like, if you go through like a Spy Q program, you start to learn these steps. You start to learn these, like, you'll watch an interaction. All right, tell me what you think you guys saw. And then there'll be all these different points of view. Let's say 20 people watch our interaction. We're in a chorus and we're talking, and I'm playing a character. I'm playing the shake or whatever. And then so you're going to get critiqued and you're going to hear what everybody perceived from you. And what we all should get is that, like, wow, there's a lot of perceptions. There's a lot of realities that just happened here. And then someone will say, this is what happened. And I'll say, that's not what happened. Because the role that I was playing was ABC 1 2 3, and you're nowhere close to that. So what you have to do is accept that you're going to make mistakes. And you're not going to know the actual answer in real time, but the more you're deliberate about it and in an unperceptible way, right?
Yeah.
Relaxed, the better you can be at reliably getting to close to where the answer is, and so that you can possibly know the next step. Because if you guess wrong on step one, it's really hard to get right on step two.
Yeah.
And so if you're never in that cone of correctness, that's what spies learn how to do is we learn how to stay inside of that little space. But it's all balancing, right?
Yeah.
And if you're balancing something, it's not comfortable. You're supposed to be uncomfortable the entire time.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what how I represent what a spy does is we're trying to find balance when there's four axes all tilting, and you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to put 2 feet to hold four spots. And
Yeah.
it's a challenge, and you make a lot of mistakes. And if you're not making mistakes, then you're making the first mistake, and that's a tough way to live.
Yeah. Going off that, you know, I love that what you said about Spy Q doing that. But is there ways people, you can defend yourself against people trying to manipulate you, or is there like techniques you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
use?
The first thing you can do is detect manipulation. The first thing, like I don't know about in politics in your world, but our congressional members love to sit on the dais and say yes or no questions, right? Like closed questions, yes or no this, yes or no that. And will you support this? Will you support? They're trying to put you on a position so that they can control the outcome. And so when someone tries to ask you a yes or no question, specifically those kind of questions, you should back up and just take a different approach. And you can even say, that's a closed question. And nothing in life is that simple. So I'm not even going to answer that question. Or you might say something else, whatever it is, right? But you're going to look for that because that person's trying to control you and trying to either deceive or coerce or something. Like they have an objective and they're being obvious about it. And it's fine to do that. It's fine to be straightforward. Sometimes you go up to the girl and go, "You're a knockout. I'd love to take you on a date. Can I have your number?" Like that's straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But and sometimes that approach works. But the thing that you should do is just recognize that when there's an ulterior motive, and then determine what your next step is going to be. And it could be nothing. I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to walk away from you. I'm not going to interact with you. And the next time I talk to you, if that happens again, you're already starting off on I'm not talking to this person because they're trying to control me by asking me this closed question. By the way, who, what, where, when, why, how interrogative questions are also closed questions. They're a little more open. But if I say, when did you leave your girlfriend's house? Well, I have closed that down pretty tight, didn't I? You're like,
Yeah.
it's kind of uncomfortable,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
like, hey, whoa, hold on, so closed questions in general that establish time, place, those kind of things, they can be uncomfortable. If I say, tell me about last night, and you're like, I was at my girlfriend's house, we watched this and that, and we did this, and I left. And so it's a different thing, and you're more likely to give me a more accurate timeline. Now I may be forced to say, okay, we got to hammer out this timeline, and that's going to be very detailed, controlled questions. But
Yep.
that's what a lot of manipulation looks like, is to try to put you on a position and then test that position. And so that's the main thing. And also, if you detect that you're being sort of approached in some kind of way,
Yep.
just don't oblige. Like I'm using kind of a police example. So just say, hey, I'll take my lawyer now because
Yep.
I'm not playing this game with you. Because here's the God's honest truth is if you're against somebody who's good, they're just better at this than you are. They're skilled. It's like everybody thinks they can do the thing that the person's a professional at. And maybe you survive, maybe you get out of it, okay. But you shouldn't take that risk. You should just leave the situation. So
Yep.
I would say first look for closed questions. They're pretty easy to see. Doesn't take a lot of skill, but I wouldn't cross swords with that person because they are likely trying to do something to you and they have more than one trick in the bag.
That's good. I think the skill you're setting up would be awesome. People are going to get a lot of value out of it. So,
Yeah. It's fun to do too.
yeah,
It's fun to go out and talk to like regular people and to like know that you have some of the ability to do this. Whatever the thing is that you're trying to do, obviously there's going to be people that are better at it than you are. And some people will have a knack and they'll get hit, but you can always add skills to these things. And just understanding these things are a lot of times they're systems or just frames of mind. And so when you walk into a room, like let's say you and I are going to go to a convention and it's got the pancake makers, the guys who make the breakfast sausages or something, they're all together in a group. And our job is to figure out how to sell these guys our product, you know. Well, before you walk in, you're gonna like, here's what we want. Number one, I want to get 5 phone numbers from people I can get follow-up meetings with who are in our sweet spot for our clientele, whatever it is, right? And then you have these things, these tasks. And then so you're like, I'm gonna do these. If I just get these 5 tasks done, I get these 5 numbers, I shake 10 more hands, whatever it is, and then the other stuff you'll find by just simply doing those actions that create your net responses. Like I sent 5 instant emails. Okay, I did that. I met 25 people, shook their hands, got their names. I got some business cards. I did this. I did, whatever it was. Okay, that while you do that, you're also gathering other information, and you might find out that company X is getting ready to go on a buying cycle, and they are actually interested in other clients because they're not happy with their client. Like we found that out. Wow, that's even better. And so the SPY Q process is how do you walk into that room in the right frame of mind, You know you're armed with the skills to advance your business measure. And then yeah, you walk out. And I'm using sales as it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be HR, human resources kind of stuff. It can be parenting skills. It all applies to all of it because it's human exchanges, in the spy world.
I want to ask, what's more dangerous, bad intelligence or no intelligence?
Boy, that's tough. Bad intelligence or not. So in the intel world, in the world how I play it is who's running who, right? So if I'm talking to you, who's running who? Are you running me or am I running you? And we both need to think that we're running the other, right? So if Tommy thinks he's like, I got the better of Pete.
Yeah,
He's my guy. He's my source. I know what I'm going to do with him. I need you to think that so
yeah,
that you're less focused on my effort to run you. And we'll see who wins that fight, right?
yeah,
But if your job is to get me off into the field with my team so that I can get whacked, hopefully I've detected that. And so there's a real crossing the swords. So if you don't have the intel to know that that's going to happen or that that's a targeted operation that's trying to be run against us, then it's going to be harder for me to counter it.
yeah,
And so as I try to counter things, I would say I'd rather have bad intel because I get that quite often where they'll say, Tommy's an idiot. He's a dumb guy. And I'm like, I just met that guy. That guy's not dumb,
yeah,
And then I can use that to my advantage. Do you realize that the Americans have a terrible opinion of you? Can I tell you that honestly? Can I say this to you right now that the American thinks you're an idiot?
yeah,
And then if you're like, oh, you know what? I know why that is. I met this guy a couple of years ago, Lieutenant James. And Lieutenant James and I just didn't get along. And I could tell that was it. And everybody's treated me different ever since. And I'm like, well, let me see if I can fix that for you. And so then I go into your bio card and I'm like, hey, Tommy Gunn's a cool dude. You guys got to get off his back. Let's test him and see if he's as dumb as ever. So that's bad intel, right?
yeah,
And I'm able to fix that. But no intel, yeah, I mean, that's the thing I go into. I go into an environment where there's no intel. It's got to
yeah,
kind of figure it out.
yeah,
So maybe I like it better the other way. Okay, so I guess day in, day out, I would rather have some intel than no intel.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'd rather have.
yeah,
Even if it's
sure.
bad, it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think like governments are more transparent today, or is there still that high level of secrecy with, you know, hiding information and weaponizing it?
Yeah.
Or are
For
they just
sure in the
better at it?
intel world.
Yeah,
Yeah, we call it the IC in the intel community. We love to classify things, even if they're not classified. Even like when I talk about techniques and stuff on my show, some of my peers will see, whether they know me or not, they'll say, "Hey, knock it off. I know that's not classified, but don't say that stuff out loud." Well,
yeah,
why not? It's in a movie. What are
yeah,
we hiding here, right?
yeah,
And so I kind of laugh when I think about these things
yeah,
because we get really so for sure we overclassify stuff. And then I always wonder, like when I see transparency, am I seeing transparency or am I seeing the performance of transparency? One of the things we get told a lot in the modern technological world is like, oh, well, you got to use, app 15 because man, oh man, app 15 is secure. That's the best, most secure comms on your device, right? And I'm like, well, first off, this thing's exploited already all the time.
yeah,
Like this is not it's not a secure comms. And you're telling me that someone I don't know made a machine that I can't check and that I'm going to talk openly about my most private things, maybe business things, maybe a love thing, whatever it is. And you're telling me that there's no risk of it being exploited? But you're exploiting me now.
yeah,
Like I should never believe that. I should always believe that this thing is going to undermine my condition overall. Does it mean that I'm going to get attacked? No. It might, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you think things are secure on this, then I'm going to tell you right now, there's never been a phone that's not crackable because there's never been a dude that doesn't love having tits bump up against his arm and a girl look back and go, "Hi." And you're like, "Oh, hold on. What's this?" Right? I mean,
yeah,
everybody thinks they're immune to a honeypot until a honeypot shows up. The best kind of pussy is easy pussy and it's hot. You're like, "Oh
yeah,
man, this is my one time, my one
yeah,
shot. I'm going to take it." Right? It's easy to do.
yeah,
And so when we think about all of these things that go into the spy world, These things exist because they work. And so you tell a whole bunch of non-truths about what a phone can do. No, we would never listen to you. We're transparent about that. Are you?
Yeah.
Do I believe you? How about no? We'll start off with I don't believe you. So I think that, yeah, governments have political power, and politics is different than policy. And so if the political gain is there to let team A beat team B, I'm insignificant in that. They'll run right over the top of me to advance the party's thing. So I would say there aren't as many conspiracies as there are theories, but not all conspiracy theories are wrong.
Yeah.
How did I do? Is that pretty good?
That was really good. I like that. I've never heard that before, not all conspiracies are wrong either.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
what's a conspiracy theory that people I like, that is widely regarded as just a conspiracy theory that you believe is real or maybe that you know is real?
Anytime something nefarious happens, like between Ukraine and Russia, like there was a dam that was blown up, and I'm like, until someone says otherwise, I'm going to assume that was us,
Yep.
you know, because we can jump right into the middle. I'm talking to us being the U.S. Um, because it might benefit us in either direction to have that dam not be there. And believe me, like there's guys who make plans. They're like, well, if that dam wasn't there, we could accomplish this, this, and this. And it's like, well, while those guys are fighting, what if we snuck some Rangers into this valley and blew this dam up? Or when the Nord Stream thing got blown up, and I'm like, until someone tells me otherwise, it's absolutely possible that we did that, right? And then there'll be ideas on who did what and everything else on that. So a lot of that kind of stuff, like when COVID broke out, a good friend of mine, she's an author in New Zealand. Her name's Kat Connor, and she had just written a book with the contagion that breaks out. And I said, Kat, you and I both know there's a pretty good chance that the U.S. is behind this thing, whether it was on purpose or not. Then it turns out we were funding gain of function research in that laboratory, and then the thing got out. It's like, see, look at that. So
Yeah.
is that a conspiracy? Yeah, a little bit, right? I mean, we were told that it was the wet market where it came from, and I'm like, that's a bunch of bullshit. No way, no way. It did this thing come out of that? It sounds like it came out of a lab. This is right from the very beginning. So, is that a conspiracy? Yeah, probably. Yeah, a little bit, right? But also, then you find out that we lied, hid the truth about what we were doing. In Congress, a guy swore up and down. We have this guy, Fauci. I didn't do it. We didn't do it. Like, here's the memo that said you did. Wasn't me. so, so
Yeah.
these things create the conspiracy thing where you're like, who do you believe? I don't believe anybody. So, do I think Kennedy was shot by one dude? Yeah, probably. But then you start reading all this stuff and you're like, there's so much nonsense going on in this whole thing. I'm prepared to be totally wrong about Lee Harvey Oswald shooting the president, and maybe he shot him, maybe he wasn't. Who even knows? But that's like the greatest conspiracy of them all. I do think we landed on the moon, but there's all kinds of stuff where, like, if we pull this off and you take this thing, you have plausible deniability, you just shrug your shoulder and go, I don't know, it wasn't me. Man, I'd probably jump on that ride if it was offered to me. Hey, Pete, we're going to do this deception operation. Would you be interested? I'd probably say, does it pay good? Let's go. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Wow. Yeah. So do you think the CIA killed JFK?
I don't know. I don't know. The best, I'm undecided about all of it.
Yep.
And there are so many JFK assassination experts who say so many crazy things. It like muddies the water. So I don't have a clear idea of what it is. But I can tell you this, and I know a number of people that we've gone to Dealey Plaza independently. These are friends of mine. And we're all like, did you see how close that shot was? How in the world did he miss the first time? Like it's so, so, so close. So I don't know if the CIA did it or not, but I know the CIA will do whatever it takes to win. That's how I played. I would bend the rules. I would do illegal things. I would enrich myself. I mean, it's hard to say no to those things. We can all stand on our morals, but we don't have to do it. But when everybody around you and everybody's armed and you're in a dangerous place, and they're like, hey, we're all going to steal and we're all going to get paid $2 million. We're going to divide it up. If you say no to that, you may not come home. These are really smart and dangerous people. And it's not hard for you to fall off a cliff accidentally, you know, because if you're going to rock the boat, And so it's easy. Look, and humans do that. We bond into groups and we do things that we're like, I can't believe. Like if you get together, a bunch of dudes start hazing the younger guy, and the things you make that person do, you're like, oh my God, that's terrible. I don't like it. I'm not going to take part of it. But there you are taking part of it. Or you're not doing it, but you're there as part of the group, right? That happens every day around the world. And so, yeah, that's exploitable. Hey, we're going to cheat on this. So here's a really good one. So a lot of people in my nation hate Donald Trump, hate him, and they'll say no holds barred, no position. Every position's always anti-Trump, anti-Trump, but we won't cheat on elections. No way.
Yeah.
Look, I don't believe him for a second. I'm not a pro-Trump guy, but don't tell me that he's this, multi-time felon. He's the worst person ever invented. He's this, he's that, he's this and that. But you're not going to cheat on an election if you think you can get away with it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't. It only take a guy like me who was adversarial to my nation and everything. It's a small amount of money for me to go out, and if you give me a targeted area, for me to start going out and having an impact on that election. I mean, first off, there's a good chance that no one's even going to deploy the law to stop this thing. And we've done that here. So you're talking about conspiracies. I can easily imagine a scenario where Chinese Pete goes into DC and is like, I'm just going to put my tentacles into this Washington, D.C. world and develop influence. And I'll just start vampiring power out of these people, and money and everything else. And I'll create this throughway to push and pull the things that I want. 100% that happens. 100% that happens in elections. Does it happen enough to change elections? I don't know that we're being honest about that. I get told, oh, there's no way, there's no way. Well, look,
Yeah.
if you gave me the means and the time, and if I chose to do it, why wouldn't I be successful?
Yeah.
And how could I not? Look, you don't have to show an ID in a lot of parts of the United States when you vote. Anybody can vote. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat, partly because of these reasons. But don't tell me that these things are secure. When I talk to people all the time, they're like, I don't even bother voting because it doesn't matter. I don't have a vote, and
Yeah.
so they've opted out because they think it's nonsense. So yeah, man, the conspiracy thing, it's tough because there's a lot of believable things. But like the stuff like with Iran today, there's so much misinformation about conflict and what's happening and what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows the future. There's some likely things that are going to happen. And the most likely thing is that Iran calms down, stabilizes, and starts the process of becoming a something better than a fledgling country again. We'll see what happens. That's the most likely scenario.
Yeah.
But you know, people just get these wild, like the U.S. is going to run out of missiles. Is the thing I've heard in the news. No,
Yeah.
no, we're not. No, we're not.
Yeah. That'll never happen.
Yeah. No, no. We'll just make more.
Yeah.
You know, come
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's so I don't know. The conspiracy thing is crazy, and people can get wrapped up in it, and they can really sell themselves on an idea. Again, these are people that I would look for, and I would try to exploit them because I can sell them this idea, and then they'll take off and run with it. This is sort of how radical Islam gets sold. You tell a bunch of dudes they have no future except for to be dead and get virgins, and all of a sudden they start believing you. They start trying to get dead real fast.
What's something from war that you could take into business, like a lesson from war that you could take into the business world or, life?
Give me a business to play around in, and I'll give you an example.
Um, let's say a logistics business. Or
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, war and logistics go together. They're the same thing. One of the reasons why the U.S. is so capable is that we can move stuff, train, plane, boat. You know, I mean, we can just move stuff, and it's good to be on our team because if I don't know, whatever Vegemite, the Aussies will always have Vegemite in a combat situation with us. If you guys chose that or whatever it is, right? Because we can move stuff. And so logistics is like the heart of the military. We fuel, water, food. I mean, we had remote control airplanes, drones flying and dropping off pallets of food to us in Afghanistan. This is in 2010, 2011. They're just drop a pallet. They'd have a bunch of flying missions over top.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Amazing. You're going to fight that force? By the way, every now and then, one of the pallets would just come straight and boom and land on the ground. We'd have to burn that thing down. And then we'd say, we lost pallet 7. Here comes the next pallet. They'd just bring one out almost immediately after. As soon as they could possibly get it on another drone, they'd fly it and they'd replace that pallet.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the Afghans get into a firefight, and I would say, "Hey, how do you guys get more ammo?" And they're like, "Oh, we'll put a request in. How long will that take?" And then they laugh in my face because they don't know when they'll get more ammo, right? And
Wow.
so, how do you apply that to the civilian world is understanding how to move things, and then all of the detailed steps on how to move stuff. But there's a lot of things like spying that applies into the corporate world. Like you go into negotiation or you just know how to calm yourself down. Like you can quietly do a breathing exercise to lower your heart rate, to get more oxygen in your brain. As you start to feel your body, like you're just more aware, right? When you allow yourself to be more aware, you can say, "Oh, I need to adjust this, how I'm sitting. Um, I'm going to smile as a default. So every time I stop talking, I'm going to smile and nod my head like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And that creates agreeability, right? Now, maybe it doesn't work every time, but that's just a good pace of operation. And so while someone else is thinking about the thing that they want to say, you've already practiced the intonation. If you start your speech at a certain level in it somewhere else, and if you don't like when I hear my chest and my voice getting together and I'm talking down here, that's a different person than the person who's excited, who's way up here in my head. And so I'm always aware of where my voice is. And when I want to be powerful, I drop down and I talk. This is not by design anymore. This is now just how I speak. And so I can hear myself doing it. I can hear myself talk. I can formulate my sentence just a half a note before I say it so that I can put the right word in there. And I'm not going to say words like and I'm not going to have filler because I've practiced that technique. So when you have spy skills, you can go into a room, and if you have 50,000 words you're going to say in that meeting, you're not going to waste 10,000 of them saying and kind of like stuff,
Yeah.
because all those words are wasted
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah, I love that. That's yeah. I've been trying to yeah correct myself a lot. With the yeah,
Yeah.
if I'm in a meeting or something. But I want to go. So we've covered that. Is there anyone you've ever crossed paths with, and to this day they stand out, and you're like, that guy is dangerous, and he is good at what he does. That's probably still around somewhere, like doing well.
Yeah. In my day-to-day life, I don't think I know that many dangerous people. I mean, look, there's SEALs and those kind of guys that I know, and of course they're dangerous, but they're not in a dangerous world for the most part. These guys are
Yep.
now older and they don't play in those waters. But if you were to come into their house, you need to find out how dangerous they are,
Yep.
because they've been itching for that fight for a long time. No, none of those guys want somebody to break in, but there's those kind of folks. But the folks who are uh, more orchestrators, the guys who are like, I know how to dominate this situation and put people in a position where they'll comply even if they don't want to, because it's easier to get their compliance from them than it is for them to fight you on it. This is stuff I learned when I went to the Warlord Academy. The Warlord Academy is me talking to sheikhs and warlords and seeing how they do things.
Yep.
And they say things like, Peter, what will they do about it? Complain? Let them. And then you
Yeah.
realize like these guys are cold. They're calculating. And so like you're going to do this. I'm going to complain about it. Then we're done talking because you're going to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's amazing what can happen when you like if you read The Prince and you read it from a different point of view and you understand how to counter what's going on in The Prince, or if you understand how to be the prince, or you understand how to be Machiavelli, and you take these different points of view, there's a whole lot. That book is tiny, but you can read it over and over and over again and draw lessons out that you can apply. And you can see in those reactions, in those experiences inside of a business conversation, where you can say there's a lever right there and I can pull it and I can change how the next 5 minutes go. They're there. You can build advantages slowly over time in a conversation that you can turn into something that gives you more odds. You don't win every fight,
Yep.
but when I think about people who are dangerous, it's the ones who use those skills and get intoxicated by it and want to do it as opposed to do it to cause a singular outcome, and so it becomes more about winning than it does about doing the thing that's the right thing or the best thing.
Yeah. And it's funny you brought that book up. I was just looking at that yesterday. I sent it to my friend. I'll put his face on it because he's always, yeah, he's just that person. He's smart and I guess like manipulative. So I just put he's just like just good at strategy. Yeah. Which leads me to my
Yeah.
next question. If you had to recommend three books to someone to get better development or, just sharper, just any three books could be any category, what would you recommend?
There's a book. So Robin Dreeke is a friend of mine. He's a guy that he's a counterintelligence agent. He was in the FBI, and he wrote a book called the Code of Trust. And I was like, I want to come back and write a book and basically call it the Code of Trust. But he'd done it first. And man, oh man, we found the same tools, techniques, and mindsets. So I love that book. And he's written a bunch of books about creating alliances and things. So a lot of the stuff I talk about is stuff that he's written about. And it's amazing. It's easy to read a book. When you're a black belt and you read a book, you're like, this book's adorable. It's got all these things in there. Good luck trying to develop your skills. Like you still have to work on the skills all the time. You have to let go of a lot of things. And so I would say that book is marvelous. I'm reading a book right now, kind of in the same vein about establishing rapport. I'm going to have the guy on my show, and let me look at my phone here real quick to see make sure I get his name right. Um, his name is Brad Beeler. He's a former Secret Service guy. Same, just like me, just like Robin. And he talks about how to build things. Like I talk in terms of a trust bank. I'm going to extend you, Tom. I'm going to extend you trust on credit. And hopefully you'll exchange it back with me. It'll be low risk at first. And then we meet more, we get closer together, and the risk gets higher, higher, higher in the case of like a combat setting, right? Or a business setting where we're doing more complex things that we wouldn't have started at, but now we've become fast friends. And so he talks about that. Like often in business, you'll say you meet somebody, establish rapport, and then you go on to build trust. Well, but these things are hard things. You can think you establish rapport, you can think you establish trust, but it's not up to me whether or not you trust me. It's up to you. And so if I go a little more deliberately, I'm not saying slow, but more deliberate. If I look for the signs, if I pull the levers, if I push the buttons, twist the knobs, and I'm testing your level of trust with me, and I'm waiting for it. I don't need it. I'm waiting for it to show up. Then I can nurture it. I can cultivate it. And when I do see it, it's way stronger than I realized. And it arrives later than I want it to. But oh my gosh, that trust that I've curated in our relationship is going to be returned just as strong as I'm extending it. And that's a big thing. So I would say Code of Trust and then Brad's book is called Tell Me Everything. And this is how you get people just to tell you things. In that, there's a great note. This is a really powerful thing. So you and I are talking, and right now it's my job to talk because I'm the guest, but you're doing a great job in just shutting up. And so you're allowing me to talk. And so I'm filling those holes with stuff. And I want to do a great job for you. So I'm saying even more than I might normally say because you're remaining quiet and you're listening. And
Yeah.
so that's part of the tell me everything thing. Let me think of a third book. I think if you can work on leadership and find books that talk about things and how to be a leader in an organization, internally, externally, whatever it is, you can spend a long time learning about leadership. There's a football coach here from America playing American football. His name is Bill Walsh, and the book is a book on leadership and how he approached coaching football, and it's remarkable. And people to this day buy it. It's very expensive to buy. It hasn't been in print for a long time, but that book is powerful because it lays down like how he approached the problem of leadership. Leadership is one of those things where yes, there are some people that have an innate ability to lead, but they'll get outperformed by a person who builds powerful leadership jobs. Like if you and I are doing something hard, I don't know, we're doing we're doing landscaping work, right? And you're working with me. I'm the guy that runs the company, but I'm still swinging tools, and you're working with me. I'm going to make sure that you're all right every day. Hey man, how you doing? How you holding up? What's going on? Do you need food? Do you need water? What do you need? Do you got enough money? And I'm going to look after you because if I do that, you're going to know that I care, and it's not going to be phony. It's going to be real. I actually care about you. let's see. What if we pushed a little more today and did one more house today so we both could have a little more money at the end of the day? And if you were like, yes, let's do it. Yes, let's go. I'm now leading us towards a better future. Hey, do you want to put some of this money into an investment account? I have a guy. Let me introduce. If I start taking care of you, you'd be like, God damn, Pete is making sure I get fed, making sure I have work. When I want to work more, he's got it available for me. He's built this amazing business. And all of a sudden, I'm leading you in a powerful way that allows you to thrive and me to thrive. And we're doing this together. So I would say any kind of book on leadership. Bill Walsh's football book is one that may not be relevant to folks who don't know football, but there's a lot of books in that vein. I would just start there and just start learning about leadership because you don't have to be the guy to lead. I'm a leader in my world because I mean I know what it means to lead, how to mentor, how to get behind someone else's effort and lead the effort to help pull towards things. Like, hey, we're all trying to go over here because Tom wants to go that way. Well, then how about we just all get on Tom's side and stop bickering and just let him go in that direction? We all agree he's the leader. That's leading internally. And so I think those things, learn how to build trust, learn how to build rapport, learn how to listen, and then learn how to lead. And all those things go together. I think you'd be in a better condition than when you started.
That's incredible. And so someone once said to me, I want to get your thoughts on it. They said a lot of leaders, like we're talking about leadership, and they said, man, to be a leader, you got to be a bit of a psychopath or have those tendencies. Do you think that's true?
I mean, to be a spy, you got to be a psychopath, sociopath. You got to be like, we're going to self-select into that. Am I a psychopath? Am I a sociopath? Not today, but as your ability to control yourself erodes, through addiction, through some kind of affliction or through old age, yeah, sure. Maybe there's a psychopath inside of me. Maybe, you got to want to work hard enough to be a leader. Like when, if you and I got to go out missions every day and I'm your boss, I have to lead that because neither of us wants to go out. But when I say, Tommy gun, grab your shit, we're going, right? Like that's what I have to do. Otherwise, you're like, hey, maybe Pete won't want to go out today. Maybe today will be the day we want to rest. You're not going to say it. You don't want that. Hey, my ankle's killing me. All right, then stay in. But tomorrow we're going out. I'm going out. And you're like, well, you're going out. I'm going to go out. And all of a sudden now we're
Yeah.
both going out, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know that you have to be a psychopath, but I think it helps. You have to be enough of a non-psycho-sociopathic person that you actually care about the people around you.
Yeah.
But you have to be so dogged that the mission gets done, right? How you get the mission done, that might be the difference between greatness at accomplishing the mission versus accomplishing it well. But yeah, I don't know that you have to be a psychopath or a sociopath. But I mean, I had to disassociate all kinds of stuff as I was doing it because the horrors I would see, the people dying, the people suffering that I had no ability to help, even though I was desperate to help them. Man, I had to push that stuff off to the side because that's not my job, and that's not good for the soul.
Yeah. I was going to transition into something else, but just off that, how do you, I guess, deal with seeing people die?
I try
Is
not to watch people die, like the videos like this person's gonna die. And I'm like, no thanks, opt out. I don't need to see any more calamity. I've filled my calamity jar up. I don't want any more in it. It's too hard to manage as it is. It's not that I saw people die every day, but I saw misery and suffering and all these things, just all this woe around me. And I don't know anybody who's at my level in terms of combat experience who thinks that going to sleep doesn't like there's demons when you go to sleep. And so you can work yourself into an exhausted state. That's not necessarily good for you either, because then you're compromised when you go to sleep. But trying to find balance when you've had so much damage or you witnessed so much harm, man, it's tough. It's tough to realize that a simple day is a good day when you've had these highs, extreme lows, and just trying to find a balance again. And so that when the bad things show up at night, you don't need to drink a handle of whiskey to avoid it, and you start to accept that this is part of who you are, and you start to deal with it. Do I do it perfectly? Absolutely not. Are there nights when I stay up because I don't want to go to bed or I want to be exhausted? Yes, there are. But I try to limit that stuff because it makes it harder to do the next day's functions. and it sort of self-fulfills that I cascade down and get depressed and everything else, you know. So yeah, when you do hard things, and war is the hardest thing, you're going to take damage every day. And it may not seem like it in the moment, but you still got to carry that weight around for a long time. It's tough. I'm not gonna lie. It's tough, and I understand why people want to kill themselves to get out of it.
Yeah, that's tough. Um, yeah, I'm glad you're still here talking and
Thanks, man.
with us
Me too.
after everything you've seen and been through. So that must have been you're an incredible guy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm this guy now, but I've been pretty impossible a lot of the last 15 years, you know,
Yep, yep,
maybe even 20, because uh, I didn't live in a real world. I lived in this alternate world where the rules were completely different.
yep,
Where you could shoot somebody and go home and have dinner like, yeah, I won today. Like,
yep,
what other world is there like that, where you can go kill someone and be celebrated for it? But yeah, I'm a sniper. I'm not a sniper. I'm just saying, if you were a sniper and you killed someone, like, I did my job today. I did a great thing. I'm going to get
yep,
celebrated for it. I'll
yep,
always have that hit. It's a murder. It's a murder. You murdered someone, right? You legally murdered them, but a person was alive. You shot him. Now they're dead. And at some point, that bill has to get paid.
yep,
Not that you have to feel bad about doing your job, but there's a cost to that job, just in general.
yep. Did, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but did you have to kill someone to defend yourself
The
or?
way I answer this question is if I am shooting, that's not the point of my job. My job is to have conversations to build relationships. And so if I'm a guy who gets into gunfights, then I am no longer as reliable to build the relationships that I have to build. I become more of a combatant. I am a combatant, but um, I'm the last guy you want shooting because if I am, then I have to leave that area. It just doesn't work in terms of how I do it. Now, would I stay if I had to? Yeah, of course, and I would work within the bounds of what I had to do. But that's not the point. The point here for me is, well, I'm with all these guys. They're all here to let me talk to me before those guys go to work because it's better that way, you know.
Yep,
And I need to be more of a broker. A spy shouldn't the way I do it, a spy shouldn't be killing people at all if they can avoid it. And there's been plenty of missions, but I don't even have a weapon because
yeah,
I don't need a weapon. Everybody else around me has a weapon. So if I show up and like, where's your weapon? Like, oh, well, these guys will have that covered. I'm here to talk to people. Who wants to go get a bite to eat? We go to a restaurant or we go to, whatever. And so that's not always the case, but that's more of the approach. So it's not, and for me and how I've done it, it's not at all like the movies. Can I shoot? Yes. But uh, for me, if I'm shooting, a lot of stuff is going sideways. Stuff goes sideways in war.
yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Um, but earlier when you're talking about, you said the hardest part is you telling someone that yeah, we're not going to help you anymore. Like we're out today. It reminded me of a
Yeah.
scene in the movie. I'm not sure if you seen it. The first they killed my father in Cambodia,
I've never
and
seen that.
yeah, Angelina Jolie directed it. And it's about, the genocide in Cambodia and
Yeah.
how the Khmer Rouge took over. But at the start, they're like, the Americans have abandoned us, we're on our own. Like, they're pretty much screwed then. And it's like,
Yeah.
does that happen a lot? Like, where America says, yeah, no, we're out. This doesn't serve us
Yeah.
anymore.
Unfortunately, I can think of too many examples off the top of my head, that being one of them. And how many times have we turned our backs on the Kurds?
Yeah,
It's far too common. And yeah, we're great partners until the second we're not. And then we come back and we're like, we're going to be a great partner this time, I swear, until the second we aren't swearing anymore. And so, yeah, we've done that. We've done that far too much. And by the way, then we'll put you guys on the spot with us.
yeah,
Me and my Aussie friends, we're here to help until we're not. You
yeah,
guys are like, hey, what happened? You know? So, yeah, but that's the big world, the political world where there's other competing interests. And when you work at the ground truth level, like I do, I can't worry about what some politician or some, general is going to do. I've just got to do my best day to day and be as honest as I'm able because I can't. I can't control that stuff. My job is to go out and try to make sure that my guys around me stay safe. That's my ultimately my job. Is how do I protect the force? How do I
Yeah.
amplify what they're doing so their time there is more valuable? And if we renege on a deal, although I am paying part of that bill, there's nobody for me to go and get paid back from that. That's just for me to deal with. And unfortunately, that's just the reality. I don't know what we do about it. That's just how it is.
Does a lot of it come down to money, or is it really trying to help everyone? Or
It does come down to money a lot. And here in the US, a lot of our political decisions are decided because of a budget and how the budget process works and who controls the budget and when they control it. And so this year, it's all school. We're building schools. We're going to go out and build schools, everybody. And then the next year, we're not building schools anymore. Like, yeah, I thought you guys were going to build that school. Like, oh, not anymore. This year it's water. Got it. It's all about water. Listen here, fellas. Water, water, water. And then we half-ass that. It's
yeah,
like, oh, that budget dried up. Like it's no big deal. Like people's lives aren't on the line. Like people didn't stick their necks out for that water that we said we were going to bring, and then we
yeah,
don't show up. Or like electricity. How many times have we gone somewhere and I'm talking to someone every single time I would say, "How's the electricity around here?" And they'd be like, "Oh my God."
yeah,
And then they would have a whole litany. It got so bad, I would say, like, they would start talking, and my interpreter would be like, "Yeah, we hear about this every day. We got it. Bad electricity. Got it."
yeah,
Right? I guess the first thing you saw is give people electric. How could a rock not have all the electricity it ever needs?
yeah,
It has so much oil. They certainly can power it themselves, but we couldn't figure that part out. So when we look at like how America helps, we've not been the best partner. So like today, right now, with all of our incursions that we're doing, okay, I get it. It's going to work. It's going to be a good thing. And then I'm like, well, let's check with you in a couple of years. There's a lot of ways to get this wrong, and there's more ways to get it wrong than there are to get it right. And
yeah.
that's just the truth.
Did you say, did you ever have to like, when you're building those relationships, or say, you're running a warlord or something, would there be times when you're like, here's like $2 million, or you just throw money at them to, I guess, buy them? Does that happen?
Yeah, why wouldn't we? We've got tons of money and they're going to spend it. And so we're just pumping some of the money we have into another spot. It's still going to shoot out and go everywhere.
Yeah,
So yeah, we use money all the time to buy the behavior that we want. And if that behavior is we can pay these guys $10 million over the next 10 months and they'll shoot at us less. Well, that's good.
yeah, that's pretty, yeah. And I want to ask one last, I guess, combat sort of this theme question before I transition into something else. What do you think? Where do you think this war in Iran's going today? Do you think it's going to be another Afghanistan that drags out 20 years, or Iraq, or do you think it's going to be over?
It's so hard to know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yep,
I want to be positive because I want it to work out because a stable, calm, prosperous Iran is better for everybody.
yep,
And so, yeah, I want it to work out. Will they be able to figure it out? I hope so. I mean, having a radical death cult leadership that just started a seven front war against Israel, that's not a good thing for global security. It's
yeah,
just, it's just not, and having them so far on sanctions that they survive by creating a whole new black market for oil and weapons, that's not a good way to create stability in the world. So
yep,
I want it to work out. Will it work out? Man, I don't know. You know, uh, it's again, it's so hard to get it right. It's so easy to get it wrong.
yep,
Um, do I trust any one president to get this stuff right? No. And by the way, it doesn't just take 2 years or a year or 6 months, whatever he's got left until like the next party comes in. Um, it won't be fixed that fast. And so Venezuela, all these things that they take on, you can say, "Hey, we're not going to screw it up, I swear," but I don't trust this thing to be honest. I don't trust I don't trust them to be honest,
yeah,
you know? And so I'm suspect. I want it to work, but will it?
yep. Yeah, I
And
never know what.
I don't know that anybody.
Yeah, I never know what to believe. Like because you see, like America be like, oh, he's a tyrant, he's a dictator. Like was it Gaddafi? Like and then you see the other people say, no, he was good. He gave his people houses, gold. He wasn't this big evil person that like he was painted out to be. I don't know what's true. So Yeah, I
Well,
don't,
like all people, he's got his goods and bad sides.
yeah,
But it was better to have him alive and running the place than right now having in Libya right now. There's open slave markets. You can go and buy a human in Libya. So
well,
I don't want that. You know, am I willing to go spend a bunch of weapons, men, and materiel, or money? I mean, and no, I don't know that I am. But also I don't want that suffering to go on. I want the Iranians to be free, and maybe that'll happen here. And sometimes sometimes freedom is a country doing what it wants to do, and Australia and America, we don't have a whole lot of say in it.
yeah,
And that's not comfortable because if the Iranians came around and said, yeah, we're free and we're a new people, we still don't like you. We still hate the Jews, and we're still going to like, oh, damn it, we
yeah,
got, you know. So yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough to. I want to be positive that these changes are going to help out and going to stabilize the world, but the world, all the world has a say in how they're going to play inside of that new paradigm. And so if China's like, hey, you can deny our access to that oil, we still need oil. So we're going to do other things to cause chaos for you because they certainly have the ability, and Russia too, to create uncomfortable situations for us. And so if everybody's pulling levers trying to see where they can create a change, there's a lot of chaos going on, and chaos is expensive. Chaos is dangerous. And so, yeah, I'm always suspect when we do these things because it's so easy to say, let's just go kill people to solve this problem. And in some cases, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to impose your will. Sometimes the diplomats need 6 more months to get it right, though. And it might
yeah,
take the diplomats 10 years to do something that the military could maybe do in 3 months in terms of the one objective. But then there's all the other objectives down the line from that. So
yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, man? What does Australia in general think about all this stuff?
I don't know. I don't know what to believe online, but I hear a lot of people talking about it. You know, when I'm walking, I'm in the shops or at work, so I was like, "Did you see what Trump did, or you see what the Americans are doing in Iran?" Or, and then you'll see one story where it's like they've killed all these innocent people, and the next story is like, "No, they didn't. That was, fake news." I really don't know what to believe.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's the news. The news is definitely designed to exploit us
yep,
and to get money.
yep,
And so, yeah, I don't even watch the news anymore. I get all of my information from inside sources,
yep,
and even they disagree at times. So,
yep,
I don't consume it. There's some news sources that I look to and say, okay, these because I know these guys have an actual source network. They're not just looking at a video and saying what's happening.
yep,
They're they have actual people on the inside, and so I'll lean on those guys or develop my own sources for news. But yeah, I mean, look, the U.S. is never purposely trying to kill civilians. Like
yep,
that's just not what we do. Just like Australia doesn't do that, right?
yeah,
Like like, haha, we're gonna go kill 50 people. That'll show. I'm like, do accidents happen? Yeah, because it's combat.
yep,
But anytime you hear that kind of the other side of that, where we're apparently doing some kind of illegal, that's that's not what we do.
yep,
And people can say that all they want, but that is not the norm. These are professional. The military here in America is professional, and
yep,
they understand the risks. They understand they have strong character. And so to start off that they're somehow like patsies in some kind of game and they're just too stupid to not kill innocent people, that's nonsense. And
yep,
that's frankly it's insulting to people who spend a lot of time, have a lot of college degrees, a lot of experience, and to simply say that they're doing that is on the person who's saying those things, not the people who are doing that hard job.
yep,
I mean, look at the detail I'm giving you guys
yeah,
in this show about what I've done. I'm just a regular dude. Now imagine people that have 20, 30, 40 years in leadership positions. They've developed hundreds of leaders,
yep,
I mean, this is stuff that we spend a lot of time working on. And to dismiss it as Americans just kill people wantonly. No, no, no. That's not how this goes. Bad things happen,
yep,
but we do our best. And when bad things happen, we investigate it and we try to hold someone responsible. Are we great at that? I don't know, maybe.
yep,
But but that's not the norm. Iran, yes, they will go out and kill anybody to include their own people. Let's understand that right from the
yeah,
start. That regime that just got toppled, they were bad and they would spend money instead of at the benefit of their people at to their cost and do all kinds of horrible things. Let's be straight up about that. Is America innocent? Of course not.
yep,
But we're also not Iran. And so hopefully this new this new approach for Iran will help, and it'll make the area more stable. Because I'm told Iran's a beautiful country, and I believe it. I've seen a lot of beautiful places, but let's make it so that we can all go there and spend our money there and check this place out and do it safely. I
Yeah.
mean, there's in the last 25 years, there have been several people that have walked into Iran just to do that very thing, to see it, see the beauty of it, and they've either not walked out because they got killed, or they were imprisoned and only got out through just the luck of some diplomats.
I want to go from how did you go from that life to author and podcast host, having your own show?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. You know this podcast thing, man. It's amazing. When when um when I'm trying to figure things out for the show, I have no idea where the show is going to go. I'm very fortunate. For those of you who don't know, I run the Break It Down show. It's 2,000 plus episodes over 10 years. It's been this amazing adventure that I get to meet incredible people like you, like everybody else that I get to meet, and all these relationships I get to foster and create. It's amazing. And so I wanted to tell stories. I get to tell stories, and it's an incredible thing. And it's completely changed my life for the better. So it's hard to even put into words how many riches I've. It's funny because social media, like, oh, you're a podcaster. I'm like, oh, if you only knew all the amazing things that have happened to me because of the show.
Yeah.
It's you can mock it all you want. It doesn't matter because that's not the reality is it is a treasure chest. I found a cave full of gold, and I cannot get. Every time I think, oh, okay, well, this thing's gonna. Nope, it just keeps on giving opportunities, and I'm not getting wealthy, but I'm getting wealthy in terms of experience and enrichment. My life has been so enriched because of the show. So yes, I always want people to subscribe and enjoy it, but also if you don't, okay, great, whatever. I don't worry about that part of the show anymore. The show will take care of itself, and it always takes care of me, and it's just an amazing thing.
Yeah. And what about writing? Like, how do you get into that?
Yeah, I'm writing all the time. I do a lot of writing. I've been writing about baseball a lot lately, but I'm also working on a screenplay now. And because of my ridiculous show, I'm getting into the film industry and trying to help my hometown
Yeah.
get some more business. And so, yeah, I'm either helping authors or doing my own writing almost daily, where I'm trying to figure out some way to help them get their story to a bigger stage, whether it's being on the show or helping them meet an agent or get it developed into a movie project. I'm doing that stuff all the time. And I love that. I love trying to work on stories that excite me. Because if it excites me, it's going to excite people that are like me. And there's so many movies that are great out there, but so many of them are just like, oh gosh, there's so many great stories that aren't being told. How did this one get made instead of
Mm.
this other one? That's just incredible. How do we get that one made? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to solve is how do I get not better, but just a different selection of movies that are maybe give us something new to see instead of a lot of the same stuff we've already seen a hundred times.
What's the hardest part about, writing and what advice would you have to someone who's starting out writing?
Whatever it is that you're going to do in writing, there's a lot of authors that'll give you advice. So listen to authors, figure out what kind of author you are. But if you're going to be an author, the first thing you have to do is write. And maybe you're 2 hours at a time, then go take a walk and smoke a cigarette, come back down and sit down, whatever. Maybe you're a guy who's like 16 hours straight, crank out 10,000 words. I don't know what kind of author you'll be, but you have to write to figure that out. And so just being consistent. It's like going to the gym. How do you get big muscles? Well, you got to go to the gym. Oh, and you got to eat right. Oh, and you should get on a plan. Oh, and you got to rest. All these other things come up that aren't as obvious. And so when you want to develop your writing skills, just write. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it off of your desk and out and put it up somewhere. It's an amazing time where you can publish your own stuff. You can get picked up by a podcast and talk about your project. I picked up my buddy's piece the other day. He wrote a little article, and I'm like, hey, come on, let's go on the show and talk about it. So he wrote this thing, and now I've reached out to him, and he's already got a win. Will that turn into anything for him? Who knows? But he enjoyed the process. He's gotten some positive feedback. Now maybe he'll write something else. He got all of that because he sat down and did the job and did the writing.
Got three questions left. What
All right, let me hear him.
The next one's what advice you got to someone starting, a YouTube sh channel or, their own show, or, and how you go about, I guess, running it.
Yeah. I would say the first thing is if you want to start a YouTube channel, probably start with I shouldn't do it because most everybody's going to fail.
Yeah.
If you're Like, I'm still going to try. Okay, great. Understand you're not going to make any money. Understand it's not about your performance. Yes, there's performance elements. Yes, you need to get better. Okay, let's assume you've done all that. You're still not in charge of who sees your stuff. For a long time, maybe even still to this day, I don't rate in the search for my own name. And I promise I write my name on every single show that I do. So at some point, yeah, the algorithm is designed to do something other than support me. So YouTube is not there to break you out as an act. And I'm saying YouTube, X, Facebook, they're not there to make you thrive as an artist. They're there to give you a platform. And they don't have to do much else beyond that. And so understand that you're going to have to outwork your problems and you're going to have to figure out a unique way to solve those problems because the problem set changes all the time. And if you're not willing to sit down and do this every day, then I mean, I did 4 hours of content today for in some form or fashion, and that's not that big of a deal for me, right? So I'm not saying you have to start there, but you have to be willing to do enough work so you can overcome the problems. And if you've got to do 10,000 shows to get to the spot where you exist in this in the podcast world, well, get to getting because 10,000 isn't going to get there any faster if you're not doing it.
Well, next question, what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into counterintelligence?
Well, sign up, go to the military. That's a great way to do it. Apply. Everybody needs counterintelligence agents. It's a job that's always in short supply. And then read books, just read any books about counterintelligence that you can get. There's all kinds of them. Email me, Pete at breakitdownshow.com. I'll send you a reading list. But you don't just have to know about the job. You got to know about people, study behavior, study personalities, study influence, those all these things, because you can read all about all these agents that did all these great things in World War II. But today, right now, find me a book where it's like, this is how you do this stuff today. It's hard to find that book. We talk about these mystical times. Well, today there's people doing the job and it's hard to find those things. But what they are doing is human behavior, building trust, all these things.
Yeah, I know I said three, but I got two more left, and then
Okay,
I'll let you
go
go.
ahead. Yeah.
What's a strong person to you? What qualities, characteristics makes a strong, successful, just strong person to you?
Yeah, I mean, a strong person to me is someone who can wake up and repeat, do the things that they need to do. It's easy to do nothing. It's easy to stay stuck. It's easy to go backwards. But if you're able to get up every day and advance the ball, whatever it is that you do, if you're going to podcast. If you're going to write. Don't do all those things. Do what you can do every day. It can be a small, simple thing. That's a strong person. Because once you build that muscle up and you're like, I know I can write every day. I can go put 400 words on paper every day. Well, that means that it's only so many days before you've written 100,000 words, and that's a book. That's a big book, by the way. 60,000 words is a book. You don't have to write a whole book. You can write a booklet. You can write a short story. And these are all way shorter than that, right? So if you write 400 words a day, all of a sudden your words get better and those 400 words get more rich and you put them together into some kind of product. Man, oh man. I mean, it's not that hard to get to where you need to get to if you just stay strong with those practices. And the rub is you have to build that muscle. You have to get up, get out of bed, and go do the thing you're going to do. You can get into shape. You just have to do it every day. You don't got to win every day. Just do it every day. And then soon you'll find out that like even on a bad day, like I'm tired, but I'm here. I'm doing it. I'm writing. My back hurts, but I'm writing. Or whatever. I'm podcasting. I'm going to do it because look, at least here in America, and you guys all have your own examples, you can do your 9 to 5 job. Yes, you come home exhausted, but if you grabbed your car and you went and you Ubered and you Ubered until you had 200 extra dollars for the day, and you just did that for 100 days, you'd have a lot of money in the bank. And so, yes, you didn't take a day off for 3 months, but look how much money you would have. How many people couldn't solve most of their financial problems in 300 days of work? Now, look, there's some cost of gas and there's some cost of maintaining your car and everything. I'm not trying to undermine that. But if you're bringing in 200 extra dollars a day, which you can do here in the States, then, well, what's holding you back? Like that's a whole different job. And so, yeah, you'll be tired, but that's where strength comes from. I see a problem, and if money is my problem, I'm going to overcome it by doing these things and those day-to-day steps. That's where the strength comes.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And my final question is, what's something people should be paying attention to that they're ignoring? in the world today.
Each other, each other. Yeah. I go out and have dinner with your friends, not on a computer. Go sit in a restaurant. Go invite your friends over for dinner. Hey, I'm gonna buy some lamb. I got a bottle of wine. Come over. And this other couple, you come over too. And have these great conversations. Because all of the stuff away from here, all of this stuff on this infernal machine, right? I mean, this thing's you need this thing. Okay, great. Yeah, we do. Put it down, invite four friends over and make them a meal and eat together and then see who's going to do the next one. And your life will be enriched. Meet new people. Go eat food with them. That's what we're made to do. We're not made to live our entire lives in this thing. We're not made to, at least here in America, have food delivered to you every night. And so you never cook with your loved one, you never go see anybody else, you don't know your local neighbors, you don't know your local vendors. Gosh, that sounds like a terrible existence. Just start to get to know the people around you. And you're going to meet. I love my grocer. I have a grocer. I love to see that guy. Every time I can, I go see him. We have these short little conversations. It's wonderful. How many of you have a guy like that, or some lady who cuts your hair? You have a great chat with. Add more of those people to your life. That's what I have to say about all that.
That's incredible, Anson. Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for your time. Can you just tell everyone where they can find you and everything that you want to say to, links,
Yeah,
whatever.
thanks for you too, man. I appreciate it. I know what it's like to do these things, and so I try to follow my own advice. I got to listen to this show and do what I'm saying. But just you can find me. I'm pretty easy. Pete at breakitdownshow.com is my email. You can go into social media and find me Pete A Turner wherever it is. I got a YouTube channel. Type in Pete A Turner, you'll find me. Love to hear from you. Love to hear what you got to say, and pitch me. I like to say yes to people coming on the show. Tell me what you want to talk about, and we'll see if we can't cook it up for you. Otherwise. Tommy Gunn, thank you, and I appreciate you having me on because it's cool to be able to do this. It makes my day. Thank you.
Yeah. No, anytime, man. Yeah, thank you.
Thomas Berryman TV, MC Wicks, you are now rocking with the greatest. Worldwide universal, we kick games, drop gems, knowledge expand the brain. We don't speak no lie, this all factual. Travel through sound waves, international. My aura is shining, but that's natural. From the cosmos, supernatural, extraterrestrial with the ill flow. Too high, too elevated. Art and culture is beautiful, we gon' celebrate it. Documented this history in the making. Connecting with the rest of the planet through conversation. Building from the ground up, this the foundation. Through the power of thought manifestation. Gift the gab, champion rap, greatness. Timeless like hieroglyphs. Who would've ever pictured this? Blow.